Dana White, the modern architect of the UFC brand, has done the unspeakable. He slapped his drunken wife at a nightclub altercation. Videos of the event have flooded the internet. People are horrified that he could do this. Could there be any excuse or justification? Well, Dana White sure thinks so. He's finally broken his silence on the viral video and seems to want to explain himself. Interested? Keep watching to find out. First up, Dana White slaps his wife on New Year's Eve. Dana White has invested a whole lot of effort throughout the years to build the UFC into the brand we know today. There's pretty much no point in denying that White deserves some much-needed R&R. He's worked very hard and the fruits are there for everyone to see. Maybe White went a little too all out though. He decided to take his whole family on vacation to Cabo, Mexico during the holidays. The aim was to relax and have loads of fun. That said, things didn't go all that smoothly for the White family. Matters took a turn for the worse once the UFC president was seen on video footage as he got into a physical altercation with Ann, his wife. This happened at a New Year's Eve party in Mexico. Coming up, what really happened during the altercation. As you can see from the clips of the event that went viral, it seems like White's wife was the first to hit as she slaps him across the face. Apparently, there was a heated argument between them, after which Ann slapped Dana. However, in the video, the giant of a man overtakes her quickly as he plummets her to the floor by slapping her repeatedly. She does fight back though. What's more, towards the end, she fades into the background, but you can see something that looks like a shoe flying at Dana. We don't really see anyone step in and break up the fight. No one restrains Dana as he unleashes his brute force on his wife. It is definitely upsetting to look at the video. Domestic violence has become so rampant that it has seeped into every facet of our media. In fact, there have been many debates about whether Dana was justified in hitting his wife as she hit him first. What would your take be on the matter? We, for one, would like to draw your attention to the fact that Dana is much bigger in size than Ann. Ann's thin arms can be clearly made out in the video. Her slap could be an affront to Dana's dignity, but certainly not to his body. He, however, in retaliation, plummets her well below the railing or the terrace they stand in. Next up, Dana White's excuses and apology. After the incident, Dana White remained quiet for a good bit, but now he has finally broken his silence about the terrible video. Now, he's a high-ranking UFC executive, and understandably, this has become quite a big scandal. He's been interviewed by TMZ, in which he took full responsibility for his actions. He admitted all wrongdoing as he explained what had happened during the incident. White has insisted that he has believed and preached the same for years. There is never an excuse for a man to hit a woman, no matter what. White was embarrassed that despite all his vocal beliefs, he is now talking to TMZ about his mistakes. He felt like this was one of those horrible situations. "I'm embarrassed," he admitted. White's also said that both he and his wife have been drinking a considerable amount of alcohol during the New Year's Eve party. That said, he still acknowledged that even though there was a lot of alcohol involved, there was still no excuse to be made for his behavior. White mentioned that he was not going to be making any excuses for the incident whatsoever. According to White, this was the first time this has ever happened. Also, people would always say whatever they gotta say, such is the nature of things on the internet. Though Dana feels like whatever people do say about him, he deserves every single bit of it. Turning to the consequences of the video going viral, the Endeavor Group Holdings could potentially suffer the fallout of Dana White's viral video slapping his wife. Currently, White is the president of UFC, which is a mixed martial arts promoter owned by Endeavor. On Monday, the video in which White can be seen hitting his wife at a New Year's Eve party in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, went viral. Just after that, from Tuesday onwards, Endeavor's shares have suffered. First, they went down over 5% to $21.53, while the S&P 500 had fallen less than 1%. White has been vocal about his embarrassment on the issue. He and Ann White have been married for 26 years, and even before their marriage, they knew each other for 12 years. The CEO told TMZ that he was very regretful that this happened and talked about how, in fact, it was fueled by the amount of alcohol they had consumed. Following up, Endeavor's profits are suffering. UFC has stayed the most profitable segment for Endeavor. This ranking accounts for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. UFC contributes to Endeavor's total revenue by about $1 billion, or 20% of the total. Now, if you didn't know, Endeavor actually purchased a controlling interest in UFC back in 2016. The valuation back then was $4 billion. The remaining part was bought in 2021. Ever since the company went public in May of 2021, Endeavor's shares have gone down by 21%. When compared to the broader market, this decline is about 9%. So far, we know that the private equity firm Silver Lake Group owns around 32% of Endeavor's stock. It's the company's largest shareholder. What's more, in 2018, 2018, UFC signed a TV deal with ESPN. This deal is 5 years long and worth $1.5 billion. In fact, White has also mentioned that UFC itself was worth around $7 billion. This should give you a good clue as to how important White's reputation is for a whole lot of people. These are big bucks we're talking about. If he messes up, shareholders stand to lose millions of dollars. Up next, Dan Le Batard says that ESPN is compromised. White's reputation directly affects ESPN. Their $1.5 billion deal with UFC means that they're likely to be careful about what they show in relation to White's. These are exactly the thoughts that former ESPN personality Dan Le Batard had when he questioned if the people at ESPN really wanted to cover the incident of White slapping his wife in a violent altercation. The world of mixed martial arts is still quite shocked by the video of Dana White hitting his wife. However, outside the bubble of company sports, this news has been generating little to no mainstream traction. In fact, ESPN has given this matter very little web coverage. Le Batard thinks this is because they are UFC's broadcast partner. Sure, some of this can be attributed to the fact that ESPN is busy with wall-to-wall coverage of the NFL player Damar Hamlin, who went into cardiac arrest on the field during Monday Night Football and remains in a very critical condition. Still, it's definitely up in the air whether ESPN will ever end up covering the story as it should. Looking at what Le Batard has to say about this controversy, the host was pretty cynical about the whole deal. He wondered how ESPN was ever going to cover the news of Dana White hitting his wife. He also questioned if the behavior on part of Sports Network would be the same if the incident had been about someone like Roger Goodell or some other owner of an NFL team. He thought that it would still be covered with lots of zeal even though NFL and ESPN were also corporate partners. Le Batard felt like this issue wasn't even about the crime. It was about the size and fame of the criminal. Dana White is pretty much the most famous person in the sport. Yes, even more famous than all the fighters. This is because he is the face and voice of mixed martial arts. Even if he's not the most famous, he's definitely close enough to the top. How does ESPN cover this one? Dan asked. He mentioned that generally, if there is video evidence and mainstream media pressure, ESPN usually stands out as the one entity capable of applying the most media pressure. This time, however, they're stuck in this uncomfortable partnership with the UFC Dana White. In fact, because of this very reason, they've ended up losing a very good journalist, Ariel Helwani, in the sport. The question now is, with a relationship like this between ESPN and Dana White, how would this news even be covered? Finally, John Wiener's comments on the whole deal. John, who's also known as Stugatz, has doubted ESPN will ever bring the story back even if the Hamlin story cools down. He thinks that this story should have been covered like any other. But the issue is that there is a major partnership involved. This is why it probably won't be covered. Le Batard responded that unless there is media pressure for the incident to stay in the news stream, it will fade away. There needs to be a whole lot of outage in order for Dana to face any consequences. This is why there will be no consequences for this incident. How else would he have consequences where the level of outrage is not there? The anger needs to be so powerful, so independent, that it manages to even control the media monster that Dana has a partnership with. Domestic violence is pretty normalized, though, so even Dan wondered what the consequences of this video could be. Usually such a video would be damaging for a person in power, especially in sports, but Dana has a plane and an outfit with power that you also get a great deal of governance with. Who will be the one to punish him? His stature certainly speaks a lot. If the same thing had happened to someone with even a slightly less degree of power like an NFL owner, would it be kept quiet? Le Batard doesn't think so. What do you think? Well, that's a wrap for this video, guys. What are your thoughts on Dana White hitting his wife? Do you think he can be held accountable by the public, if not by media giants like ESPN? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.